The moment my mother stood up during my engagement party and announced that I had a secret child, I felt my entire world stop. At first, I honestly thought it was a joke. A terrible joke. The kind that makes everyone uncomfortable. But when I looked around the room, nobody was laughing. Not my fiancé. Not his parents. Not our friends. Not even my father. My name is Claire Bennett, and what happened that night nearly destroyed everything I had spent years building. The most painful part wasn't the accusation itself. It was who made it. My own parents. The people who were supposed to love me, protect me, believe in me. Instead, they became the source of the biggest betrayal of my life. Growing up, my relationship with my parents was complicated. Nothing I did ever seemed good enough. If I got excellent grades, they asked why I wasn't first in my class. If I earned a promotion, they asked why I wasn't making more money. Every achievement came with criticism attached to it. Eventually, I stopped trying to impress them. I built my own life. A successful career. A comfortable home. And most importantly, a loving relationship with my fiancé, Michael. Michael was everything I had ever hoped for. Kind. Patient. Honest. He made me feel valued in ways I never experienced growing up. When he proposed, I truly believed my life was finally entering its happiest chapter. But strangely, my parents never seemed excited. My mother constantly criticized wedding plans. My father questioned every decision we made. Looking back now, the warning signs were obvious. At the time, I ignored them. I wanted peace. I wanted everyone to get along. Then came the engagement celebration. The evening started beautifully. Friends laughed. Families mingled. Music filled the room. For a few hours, everything felt perfect. Then my mother stood up holding a glass of champagne. At first, I assumed she wanted to make a toast. Instead, she smiled and said something that changed everything. Before Claire gets married, she announced, "There's something everyone deserves to know." The room fell silent. My stomach tightened immediately. Then she said the words, "Claire has a child she never told anyone about." The world seemed to freeze. I stared at her in complete shock. A child? I didn't have a child. I never had. Yet, suddenly dozens of people were looking at me differently. Confused. Concerned. Judgmental. I looked toward Michael. His face had gone pale. My heart shattered. Because in that moment, I realized my mother wasn't joking. She wanted people to believe it. But what I didn't know that night was that this lie had been spreading quietly for months. And before the truth arrived, everything would change. The days following the engagement party felt like a nightmare. Rumors moved faster than facts. People whispered. Questions appeared everywhere. Some relatives stopped contacting me. Others spoke to me with obvious suspicion. The most painful conversations were with Michael. He wanted to believe me. I knew he did. But confusion had entered our relationship. And confusion creates doubt. "Claire," he asked one evening, "why would your parents say something like that if it wasn't true?" I didn't have an answer. That question haunted me. Why would parents create such a lie? What could they possibly gain? Eventually, I confronted them. The conversation became one of the hardest moments of my life. At first, my mother insisted she was only sharing information she believed to be true. Then her story changed. Then it changed again. Every explanation contradicted the previous one. Finally, my father admitted part of the truth. Years earlier, I had sponsored a teenage girl named Lily through a community support program. Her family had experienced serious financial hardship. I helped pay for school supplies, tutoring, clothing. Whenever she needed guidance, I tried to help. Over time, I became an important mentor in her life. Somehow, my parents twisted that relationship into something completely different. They began suggesting Lily was secretly my daughter. At first, they only shared the story with a few relatives. Then more people. Then almost everyone. The realization left me devastated. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was deliberate. The more I thought about it, the clearer things became. My parents never approved of how independent I had become. They disliked that I no longer relied on them emotionally. They disliked that Michael encouraged my confidence. And they especially disliked losing influence over my life. The wedding represented something they couldn't control, so they created chaos instead. Meanwhile, Michael struggled emotionally. Not because he believed the story completely, but because the situation itself felt unbelievable. The stress began affecting everything. Wedding planning stopped. Excitement disappeared. For weeks, my life felt suspended between truth and lies. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. I received a message from Lily. Now 18 years old, she had heard the rumors. And she was furious. More importantly, she wanted to help. "I know what they're saying," she wrote. "And I'm done staying quiet." I didn't fully understand what she planned to do. But what happened next changed everything. Because Lily decided to tell the truth herself. And she chose the most public moment possible. Our rehearsal dinner. The rehearsal dinner arrived with tension hanging over every table. Nobody knew what to expect. Conversations felt forced. Smiles felt artificial. The entire room seemed to be waiting for something. Then Lily walked in. The room immediately became silent. Many guests recognized her from photographs my parents had shown while spreading their story. My mother looked nervous. My father looked uncomfortable. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. Lily calmly walked to the front of the room. Then she began speaking. "My name is Lily." Her voice was steady, confident. "And Claire Bennett is not my mother." The room fell completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Lily continued. "Claire helped me when my family struggled financially." Tears filled her eyes. "She paid for things she didn't have to pay for. She encouraged me when nobody else did. She treated me with kindness when life felt impossible." I felt tears forming in my own eyes. Lily pointed gently toward me. "She never abandoned me." Her voice became stronger. "Because she was never my mother." Whispers spread throughout the room. Guests exchanged stunned looks. Then Lily revealed something nobody expected. My parents had repeatedly encouraged the rumor, even after learning it was false. Even after being asked to stop. The room erupted with shock. Michael's parents looked horrified. Friends stared at my parents in disbelief. And suddenly the entire story collapsed. Every lie, every rumor, every accusation. Gone. My parents attempted to explain themselves. But nobody wanted excuses anymore. The truth had already arrived. And truth is difficult to argue against. Later that evening, Michael found me standing outside beneath the stars. For weeks, I had felt broken, exhausted, defeated. But for the first time, I could finally breathe. "I'm sorry you went through this," he whispered. I nodded quietly. Then he smiled. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled too. A month later, we got married. Lily attended the wedding. Not as the secret child from a rumor, but as a young woman who had the courage to stand up for the truth. As for my parents, things changed permanently. I eventually forgave them. But trust never fully returned. Some actions leave marks that apologies cannot erase. Looking back now, I realize something important. The greatest victory wasn't exposing my parents. It wasn't watching their lies fall apart. The greatest victory was discovering my own strength. Because when people try to rewrite your story, you have a choice. You can surrender to their version. Or you can keep living your truth. My parents created a lie. But they underestimated one thing. Truth has a voice. And eventually, it always speaks. Sometimes the people closest to us create our deepest wounds. But they do not define our future. They do not decide our worth. And they do not control our story. In the end, everything changed. Not because the lies disappeared, but because the truth finally had the chance to be heard.